Hi everyone, welcome to painting. We're going to be doing a landscape painting today that you see right here. What you will need for this is of course a canvas, two types of paintbrushes, one being a thick wide paintbrush and a thin paintbrush, paint, and a cup of water. Make sure you also have your favorite beverage and maybe a little music to help you concentrate. So let's look at all of the things that you'll need. Of course, you'll need your canvas. We have a small canvas here. You can use pretty much any canvas you'd like if you'd like to make it small or big. You also have two paintbrushes here. So we've got one that is small in tip. So you can see here it's pretty small. It's got a point to it. This will be used for more detail work. And then we have more of a square, thicker brush, and that'll be used for the sky. I also have a little cup of water here and all my paints. So for our sky, we'll be using purple first, then the red, then the orange, and then for our landscape, we'll be using the black paint. And for our sky, we'll be adding a white moon as well as the option of some stars. So we will go ahead and get started. So for this first portion, we are gonna do our back sunset. You're gonna use your thicker brush and you're gonna use the purple. So you can see here, I've got some purple on my brush. Make sure your canvas is straight up and down. That's just gonna make it easier on you. If you'd like to do it horizontally, you're more than welcome to. I just chose because I thought it just looked better with what we were doing. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to start at the top and just add that paint on there. Keep grabbing some purple paint. And just kind of work your way down. You're gonna wanna get quite a bit of paint on there just because we will use a blending technique and it'll all blend together. So if you have dry paint, then it just doesn't work as well. So feel free to just slap it on there. So now that I've gotten that far down, I'm gonna go in and use my red paint. So keep in mind with this blending technique, you do not want to wash off your brush. Again, do not wash off your brush in the water. What you're gonna do is you're actually going to just take your brush as it is and you're gonna dip it into the red portion. Once you do that, you can start blending it all together. And you can see it all kind of blends and just keep going over it. If it looks like mine, where it kind of looks like you just have a little too much red over the purple, you can always go back, again, not wiping your brush off, but just grab a little bit more purple and just hit that line again with the purple to make it just blend a little bit better. So I'm gonna grab some more red and keep working my way down. Now we're getting a little close to the center of the canvas. So I'm gonna go ahead and change over to the orange portion. So again, do not clean your brush. I've got red and purple on here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and just get me that orange. And you're always gonna wanna start on that line there. Don't go too far up in it, otherwise you'll start doing what I had in the beginning and it won't blend. It'll just look like you've got globs of different colors. So you want to make sure and blend it. So you can see this one blends a little bit better because I started a little bit below the line, and then as the paintbrush came off my brush, I was able to work my way back up and more blend. You can also see that I was doing these kind of short strokes If you want it to look a little bit more like this painting, you can see I used long strokes. So go back through and just kind of long strokes. And you're gonna use your brush very, very lightly to get those long strokes. So once you're done with that half portion and you've kind of made it to the center of your canvas, you're gonna do the exact same thing to the bottom portion of the canvas. So there is an option just to keep going and using the orange and then morphing back into the red and the purple, but I personally find it more, less stressful and easier to do it if we just flip the canvas around and start over. So we'll go ahead and clean off our brush. All right, and we're back. So I flipped around my canvas so that it has it there starting at the top. I also cleaned my brush and got all the excess water out of it. And I also replenished any colors I needed, specifically my purple. I used quite a bit of it. So let's start again with the purple. And we're going to start at the top. Another thing you might want to keep in mind is I'm not doing the sides, you can see. If you want to do the sides, you're more than welcome. I would do it at the same time though, so that it all blends together properly. There's nothing wrong with doing the sides, it just makes it a little bit messier. So that's why I particularly don't do it, but you're more than welcome to. All right, so I think I got enough purple on there for now. So again, do not clean your brush, just go ahead and grab your next color, which is red. And start right below your purple, and then start blending into that purple. Grab some more and start working your way down again. And it's okay if there's a little bit of purple down further away from the big stripe of purple. It just gives it some character. You know, sunsets aren't perfect either, so that's totally fine. And then I'm gonna go ahead and grab some more orange. Again, do not clean your brush. You can see I've got some purple and some red still on there. Start below the last band that you did and work your way into that last band. Again, if some purple ends up in your other bands or, you know, any color, that's okay. It gives it an extra little pop of color in places that a normal sunset probably would have. All right, so now we have a sunset background. If you need to make any corrections, you can always do that while it's wet. Just grab some more paint and just kind of start over. This acrylic paint is really, really easy to use if you're not super comfortable or happy with what you did originally. You can always go over it. But for now, before we start our actual landscape, we're gonna let this dry because there is quite a bit of paint. I usually let it dry for about 10 minutes, just to make sure that since we are using such a dark color of black, that it doesn't morph into our sunset that we already had. You can see here, I had a little bit of a boo-boo on my last one with the black that I used for the foliage. So it's just a little bit harder to go over a dark color with a light color. So you kind of have to let it dry a little bit. So this one right here should be dry enough to where I could go back over it and make that correction. So I probably will. But let it dry for about 10 minutes and we'll start with the landscape. All right, so my canvas is dry. Like I said, about 10 minutes is always good. All of my brushes are clean And now that I've looked at my canvas, you can see this portion here, it's dry now, but it's a little bit more choppy. So I've decided to use this part here as my bottom of my canvas, because part of that, you can see here, will be covered by the black landscape. So just kind of look at your canvas, see what you would like for your sky to be and what you would like for the bottom of your canvas that's going to be covered by the landscape. So go ahead and grab your small brush, and we're going to go ahead and do the center landscape, which is this mountain scene here. We'll start with that. Just because it is harder, if I was to do the bottom landscape first, and then I'm trying to do the center, my arm's gonna get all in that, and it's just so much easier to start from top to bottom. So we'll grab some paint. You don't need much, just a little bit. Basically, we're gonna do the outline. So right here at the center of your canvas, you'll do a line across. And of course, you'll need to grab paint and keep going. We have a smaller brush now, so it's not gonna hold quite as much paint as that larger brush is. And then we'll do one on this side. You wanna keep a little bit of a gap, just because we're gonna make them kind of point into each other, almost like there's an invisible canal there. And if it's not perfect and it's not a thick line, it's not a big deal, because we're gonna actually fill everything in with our larger brush. But then you're gonna go back and give yourself the mountains. So I particularly was a little bit choppy about it, just because the mountains aren't gonna be perfect. So if you just do the little strokes, you'll get kind of that choppy effect that can give you those mountains. Same thing to the other side. You can make them completely different if you want. You can make it go further up. Totally up to you on how you'd like to do that. This is yours. It's one of a kind. All right, so that looks good to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and set down my smaller brush and grab my thicker brush again that's clean. And I'm going to fill in these mountains with the black. Be careful on these little corners, because you do have a little bit thicker of a brush, so it's a lot easier to make a little mistake. So just make sure you're aware of that. Now, I want my little mountains to touch, so I'm gonna go back and clean off this brush here. And I'm gonna go back to my smaller brush and have them touch. There we go. Really easy. So there is your horizon, and now you can see the sky is reflecting onto your water. So next we're gonna do the bottom landscape, which you can see here. You're more than welcome to make it flat all the way across if you'd like to, or you can do how I did so that you can see more of the water, the reflection. You can kind of take it from one side all the way to the bottom corner. So totally up to you. Again, it's your own creation. So do how you feel would look great. So for this, I'm actually going to get my thicker brush again. It's just a larger portion, so we want to make sure that we're using the large brush so that we're not sitting there with the little brush trying to make that big black area. So I've cleaned off my bigger brush, and we're gonna go ahead and dip it in the black paint. And I'm gonna start a little bit further up and kind of work my way over. And I apologize if some of this video cuts off certain portions that I'm painting. It's kind of difficult painting with a camera in one hand and a paintbrush in the other. But I'll do my best so that you can see it all. All right, so all of that is covered. So now I have my landscape. So next we're going to take our smaller paintbrush and start working on the foliage. All right, so I have a clean, thin brush. I'm gonna go ahead and put it into my black paint, and we will go ahead and start painting our cattails. So I know a lot of people call these different things, but for me, we called them cattails. So if you think about back at the lake, you have these really tall stalks with these brown rods that have maybe some fluff on them. So that's what I'm talking about. Those are, to me, called cattails. I know some call them bull rods and different things like that, but that is the effect we're going for. So to do that, I'm gonna dip my paint into my black, but I'm not gonna get a ton. You can see there's just a small on the tip. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make a thin oval shape. So I'm gonna do that here, and we're gonna do a few of them, but for the first one, I'm gonna start out here and just do a line there and a line there and fill it in, all right? Once that's done, then you're going to lightly start at the top and pull down. And there's our stem. Do the same thing over here. You can put as many as you want or as few as you want. Grab some extra paint if you need to, but like I said, you don't need a ton on your brush. The least amount of paint that you have on your brush, the thinner your stalks will be at the bottom of your cattails. I'm gonna throw some down here as well. All right, once you have enough of the little cattails, then you can do their leaves at the bottom. So you're just gonna do a light stroke up and a light stroke down, and then go ahead and fill that part in. If you need to grab some more paint, do so. All right, so I'm happy with my cattails. The next thing you're gonna do is, if you have any excess paint on your paintbrush, just go ahead and kind of pull some of that off. And you're just gonna dip the little tip in. And you can see here, we made some grass here. So all you're gonna do is some hatch marks, which are gonna look like this. They don't have to be perfect. You'll just go down and put as much grass as you want. Again, the marks do not have to be perfect. If you have seen in nature, not anything in nature is perfect. And if you want to, you can always blend it a little bit more into the landscape. Just makes it look a little bit more realistic. All right, there we go. Your landscape is complete. So next up, we're gonna use our white paint to do a little moon, and then I'll show you the option of the stars. Go ahead and clean all of your brushes, and we'll start with that here in a second. All right, so with the moon, you're just gonna take your thin brush and dip it in the white paint. And right here at the top, you're gonna do a moon. Now I'm gonna do a full moon, but you're more than welcome to do whatever you like. It's nice to turn it sideways because you can see some of my paint is still dry. I don't wanna get it on myself or ruin my painting by getting it all over the place. So what I'm gonna do is just make a circle. I'm not gonna make a big one, just a small circle like that, and then fill it in. It's good to do kind of like choppy strokes because most of you know the moon has lots of like little divots and craters and things like that, so it doesn't have to be perfectly like all over. So you can see mine has some divots in there. If you want to too, you can always take some of that black paint and just don't clean off your brush, but just take the slightest little bit of that black paint and kind of mix it in with the white to make more of a gray. And then you can do little craters, so just like that. So it gives it a little bit more dimension, makes it a little bit more realistic. So you can see, looks more like a moon, right? The other thing you can do is add stars, either by just doing white paint at the end of your brush and just doing little light dots around your top. You can always keep it just like this, or you can use a speckling technique that I actually used on my first canvas. And that basically, you put paint on the end of your large brush. So I'm not gonna do it because it's very messy, but basically you put paint to about here on your large brush, and then what you're gonna do is you're going to just flick it. So make sure it's facing, you know, down like that, and then take it from the top and pull it back, and it will speckle little white stars onto your canvas. It'll also sometimes make like little streaks, and so it kind of looks like a shooting star, which is kind of cool, but you obviously don't have as much control over that method. It's much messier. It's a lot of fun, but it's messier. And so, like I said, if you want stars, you can just use your thin brush to place little stars in the area where you want, or you can just leave it how it is. Once that's finished and you are happy with your creation, that is it. And you have made a beautiful sunset lake scene that you can display for your friends to see once they are able to come and visit again. We will be having a Q&A on Thursday at 10 a.m. The call information will be sent out to you, so make sure you're looking for that. But I hope you have fun and are able to relax a little bit today. Have a great day.